श्रीमते रामचंद्राय नमः। श्रीमते रामानंदाचार्याय नमः। श्रीमते मलूकदासाय नमः। श्री राधे। The basic matters of today. What is karma? An important fact in connection with actions. Listen my chapter of today. Purusha and Prakriti are two distinct entities. Purusha is never subject to change, while Prakriti always undergoes change when a man identifies himself with Prakriti, or in other words, he identifies himself with the body, then the actions done by his body become his actions. Further, he develops a sense of mind with the objects acquired. In his mindness, the desire for things unacquired springs. Till these evils, such a desire, mindness and identification subsist. An activity is called an action. When one renounces this identification, his actions do not bear fruit for him and turn into inaction. When a liberated soul releases the self, actions performed by his body are naturalized actions. Maharshi wrote in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4 and verse 18, कर्मण्य कर्म यः पश्येद कर्मणि च कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान मनुष्येषु स युक्तः कृत्स्न कर्म कृत्. Actually, all actions are performed by the modes of nature, but a man, by identifying himself with Prakriti, body, thinks, I am the doer. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता प्रकृतेः क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहंकार विमूढ़ात्मा कर्ता हमिति मन्यते. चैप्टर 3 and verse 27 and Srimad Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 verse 29, प्रकृत्येव च कर्माणि क्रियमाणानि सर्वशः यः पश्यति तथात्मानम् अकर्तारं स पश्यति. Actions are of the three kinds. Kriyaman, English means kriyamana. New actions can be performed only in human life, and so are their impressions. Srimad Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 verse 12 and chapter 15 verse 2. कांक्षन्तः कर्मणां सिद्धिं यजन्त इह देवताः क्षिप्रं हि मानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा. एंड अधश्चोर्ध्वं प्रसितास्तस्य शाखा गुणप्रवृद्धा विषयप्रबालाः अधश्च मूलान्यनुसन्ततानि कर्मानुबन्धीनि मनुष्यलोके. एंड actions of the present kriyamana sanchita, accumulated actions of the several past human lives and also of this life till now, and prarabdhaj, some of the actions whose fruit man has to reap during this life in the form of favorable and unfavorable circumstances. Kriman karma, actions of the present. And two kinds of kriman karma, fruit, these bear fruit, and samskar, impressions, these live impressions. And two kinds of fruit, sin and unseen. And two kinds of sin, immediate and in future afterward. And two kinds of unseen, laukik here and parlaukik hereafter. And kinds of kriman karma, second kinds of samskara impressions, two kinds of sanskaras, pure prescribed actions and impure prohibited actions. Kriyaman actions are of two kinds, good and evil actions, which are performed in accordance with ordinance of scriptures are called good, while actions performed against ordinance of scriptures out of desire, anger, greed and attachment are evil. These bear fruits into forms, direct fruit and fruit in the form of impressions, influence. Direct fruit is divided into two kinds, seen and unseen. The seen fruit can further be divided into two, immediate and remote, as the immediate fruit of tasteful food is that it satisfies hunger, and its fruit in future is that it gives strength. Similarly, he who eats chili and excesses with food has a burning sensation in the tongue, mouth, throat, ears and eyes. That is immediate fruit. It causes disease in future and is future fruit. Similarly, unseen fruit can either be reaped here or hereafter. Acts of sacrifice, gifts, penance, pilgrimage, and chanting etc. can bear fruit here in the form of riches, sons, praise and honor etc. Here the future fruit of the seen and the mundane fruit of the unseen seem similar yet are different. The future fruit of the seen is reaped direct without becoming prarabdha, while the mundane fruit of the unseen is reaped by becoming prarabdha. And hereafter, in the attainment of heaven, similarly, fruit of evil actions such as theft, robbery, and murder in the form of fine, imprisonment, and execution is unseen fruit which is reaped here, while birth as birds, beasts, insects, and creepers, and residence in hell is fruit which is reaped hereafter. In the connection, a point needs attention. If the fruit of evil actions is reaped here in the form of fine, imprisonment, insult, and reproach, etc., it will not have to be reaped hereafter. The Lord is omniscient. He mentions a record of all sins committed by a person and the fruit reaped by him. So, whatever punishment is given to a man is always just, because the Lord is a disinterested friend of every being. He being omniscient know how much punishment he has suffered as fruit of his evil action, and how much more he has to suffer. So pain or punishment that is inflicted upon a person is the fruit of his sinful action. In this connection, I heard an anecdote. There was an honest gentleman in a village. In front of his house there was a house of a goldsmith. One day some customers gave a lot of gold to the goldsmith to prepare ornaments. The constable on night duty came to know about it, so at night he murdered the goldsmith and wanted to run away with the box full of gold. The honest gentleman saw him going away. He caught him red-handed and challenged him. The constable wanted to pacify him by offering him a share of the gold, but he did not agree because he was honest. The constable whistled, and having heard the whistles, several other constables came there. They caught the honest man. He was charged with murder and theft. A case was filed against him when he was presented before a magistrate. Magistrate. He tried to argue that it was not he, but the constable who was a criminal. But other constables also confirmed that he had been caught red-handed by them, committing a theft, having committed the murder. The magistrate, after listening of the statements of all of them, finally gave a judgment that the gentleman would be hanged to death. The honest gentleman muttered, "In a domain of the Lord there is no justice. I am going to be recommended of death, while to real culprit is set free." The magistrate heard his work. Somehow he was somehow convinced that he was speaking the truth, so he made a plan of testify the truth of his works. Next morning, a person came crying that his brother has been murdered, so the culprit should be traced. The magistrate ordered those two men to bring the dead body. The dead body was lying on a cot. His body was stained with blood, and he was covered with a long piece of cloth. When they were carrying the cot, the constable said to the prisoner, "If you had agreed to my proposal, you would have received a share of the gold and also escaped death." The prisoner said, "There is no justice in the domain of God, because an honest man has to suffer and a criminal is set free." The men lying on the cot of listening to their conversion. When the cot was put down, the person removing the stained cloths stood up and we narrated the conversion between the constable and the prisoner to the magistrate. The magistrate was wonderstruck. We sentenced he sentenced the constable to imprisonment. The magistrate was also very honest. He never took a bribe, so he called his gentleman in loneliness, loneliness and said, "In this case, you are innocent, but tell me frankly, you you have whether you have committed any murder during the life?" He replied, "There was a man of immoral conduct who had illicit relations with my wife. I requested him not to come to my wife in my absence. One day when I came back home, I found him with my wife. I lost self-control, murdered him and drove his dead body into the river. No one knew this incident." The magistrate said, "I was perplexed how I could give the wrong judgment when I always perform my duty very honestly and sincerely." So the magistrate sentenced him to death for his past crime, and the constable was also condemned to death. Thus, if a person suffers punishment for his crimes here, he has not to suffer it in the next world. Here in the world, the punishment is generally mild, while in the next world it is more severe. It is the with interest, but a person has to suffer punishment either here to hereafter. Similarly, if a man reaps the fruit of his virtuous actions here in the form of riches, honor, praise, and freedom from sickness, etc., he does not reap it in the next world. The present actions lead to kinds of impressions, pure and impure. Prescribed actions leave pure and holy impressions, while prohibited actions give impure and unholy impressions. These impressions form a man's nature habit. When when impure impressions are rooted out, a man's nature because pure and holy, but because of past actions, even liberated soul are found different in their nature. Thought their actions are pure and are con- conducive to salvation for the entire world. The nature habit, which is formed by impressions of the past actions, is very strong and this cannot be easily rooted out. A tiger remains satisfied in a dense forest, a lion likes a dense cave, a swan like a blooming lotus, an eagle like a cremation ground. A gentleman wants to live with other gentlemen, and a man fellow wants to accompany mean persons. It is true that man does not give up his nature. Similarly, people of different castes perform action according to nature of this castes varna. So Lord Krishna says to Arjun, that which thou delusion you don't wish to do, born by your own acts, born of your nature, you will helplessly perform. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 60. स्वभावजेन कौन्तेय निबद्धस्वेन कर्मणा कर्तुं नेच्छसि यन्मोहात् करिष्यस्य वशोऽपि तत्. A serious thought is to be given to this pertinent remark. It is said that the personal nature of a man sways him and he cannot overpower it. On the other hand, it is said that every human being is free to do any action, and so he can get through his efforts what he likes. The question is, which of the two is more powerful, personal nature or freedom of action? The answer is that the two are two different matters. They have their own importance and power in their own context. Nature described in the 16th verse of the 18th chapter is personal nature pertaining to caste. A human being's nature is formed according to the castes he is born in, and the sperm and ovum his body is constituted with. The nature cannot be changed and need not be changed. Even scriptures do not advise to change it. A man is to work under nature's sway, but in personal nature, there is impure part of attachment and aversion. God has given a man power to wipe out his impure part. He is free to make his nature pure by whipping out attachment and aversion, either through the practice of Karma Yoga as in uncited in chapter 3 verse 34, or through practice of devotion by the surrendering himself to God, he can make his nature quite pure. Thus both the forcefulness of personal nature and independence of a man to act are proved. It means that a man is free to purify his nature, while personal pure nature is effective in engaging a man in action according to his caste. The sharp edge of a sword made of steel turns to gold if it is touched with the philosopher's stone paras, but its sharpness is and shape do not undergo any change. Similarly, when a man's nature is purified, his actions are also pure. But he may perform actions according to his caste, social order, stage of life, religion, and beliefs, etc. And so his actions may be different from others. If a man of Christ class attains salvation, he will mention more purity that a man of the labor class who has also attained salvation. It is so because of their nature, but this nature is not defective, so it need not be wiped out. A man a man has to follow a cycle of birth and death, and he is born in good and evil worms because of his nature of assuming affinity with the matter. A man is free in purifying his nature by rooting out desire, attachment, and identification with matter. When a man, having renounced his egoisms, egoism, take refuge in the Lord, his nature is purified. In the same way as iron is purified and turns into gold, when it is touched with philosopher's stone. When a man's nature is purified, he does not incur sins by performing actions ordained by his own nature. When a devotee takes refuge in the Lord, he has no affinity with Prakriti, matter, and the Lord's nature descants on him. As the Lord is a disinterested friend of all being, he also becomes disinterested friend of all being. Similarly, when a karma yogi renounces attachment and aversion, his nature is purified, then actions by him are performed for the welfare of the world. Automatically, when his actions are performed for the welfare of the world, he gets identified with the power of God, because the Lord is ever engrossed in the welfare of all beings. Actually, this power of the Lord is upon to all human being, but egoism, attachment and aversion, because the stumbling blocks in approaching it. As soon as these are renounced, the Lord's power state of presence and operatings. Thanks, guys, ladies and gentlemen, and brother and sister. All for thanks. Next day, I described Sanchit Karma, collected actions of accumulated actions.